Hey everyone, and welcome to Ask Nicole, my weekly series where I like to address people's questions that they have about business and marketing. And oftentimes I need a little help from my friends to do that. So I'm Nicole. I'm coming to you live from my new office. Enjoy the painter's tape. Things will look a little bit more put together the next time that we tune in. But yeah, I have had a marketing company for the last 13 years. And because of that, I get to work with a lot of professionals in related fields, graphic designers, videographers, people like that. And when I met Jennifer, I knew that I wanted her to come on and talk a little bit about her area of expertise, which is business photography. So I'm going to add her in now. This is Jennifer, and she is with Down East Photography. So, hey, Jennifer, thanks for joining me today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, I like your camera in the background. There's some good ambiance there. So Jennifer, for people who haven't met you yet, I know you're in downtown Ellsworth. So if you're in Ellsworth, Maine, walking around, you might see Jennifer. We've both been painting our respective businesses for this last little while, but tell us a little bit about Down East Photography and what you're building there.
Yeah, so we just took our painter's tape down that we have painted walls.
I should have done that for this broadcast. Good idea.
So my fiance is Dale Joyce, and he's actually the photographer. He's the talent side of this duo, and I'm the sales and marketing person. I also clean toilets, as we talked about. When it's a small company like this, you do a little bit of everything. So we actually live on Swans Island, and we started with a fine art studio out there. And as you might imagine, on an unbridged island, it's a pretty small market for folks that are willing to work with you. Just limits how we can travel and how far we can go and that kind of thing. So we'd been out there for about 4 years and just decided it was time to get a studio space in a slightly busier market. So we just purchased a building here in Ellsworth. It's 8 Union Street. It's an old Victorian and half, and the studio space is just gorgeous. Lots of natural light, high ceilings, just a great place to work. So we're really excited to be in town and looking to help people with their business.
Right. And so Jennifer, so they have a central place, obviously, you can bring things for like your products and things to be photographed or yourself to be photographed. But also I know that you guys travel probably within an hour to 2 hour radius. Generally, you'll go to businesses too.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we played with the different ideas on what to name the business, and we went with Down East Photography to just kind of symbolize the region that we cover. So yeah, Ellsworth, Bangor for sure, into Bar Harbor, Belfast, kind of wherever we're needed. We don't think there's anybody else out there doing quite what we do. If you're looking for a wedding photographer or lots of options, but for somebody who does headshots, environmental portraits, and product shots, we're the only company in the area that does all three.
Yeah. No, I think that definitely makes you guys unique for sure. So, so if you're watching this and at the end of it, just say, oh, I probably should hire a professional. Jennifer's here, but also if you're not anywhere near Ellsworth, she will give us some tips too about how to and it's always good to know sort of how to evaluate someone's skills, because let's face it, as business owners, we don't know how to do everything, but we need to know enough about what we want so that we can ask people for it. So if you have any questions, you can put them as a comment wherever you're watching this video. So we're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at the moment. So if you leave a comment and your profile is public, I should be able to see it and put it on the screen. So if you have any questions, Jennifer's open to answering them. So just feel free to put it underneath wherever you're watching this. If we don't see it during the broadcast too, we'll be able to answer it afterwards. So don't worry about that. So the first question that I have is, and this is something that I sort of struggle with, is I know I want to make my photography better, but I don't really know what to seek out or like what kinds of things I could do. And as somebody who looks at other people's photography all the time, you probably have some tips that even someone like me without a fancy camera or something can implement. So what are a couple of things that you see that businesses could do to improve their photography?
So the number one thing, some of it is just so simple, but people still don't do it. It drives me nuts. Focus the camera. Make sure you're holding it steady so that whatever you're trying to show is not blurry. The point of showing is a picture is for people to understand what's there, and if they can't see it, then it kind of defeats the purpose. Just a couple other tips: unless you're selling to teenagers, or tweens, don't use the silly filters. If you're doing a selfie, don't put on the puppy dog ears and the crazy backgrounds. It just detracts from the message, and it makes you look very unprofessional. And then the bigger one that people don't think about is the angle that you use when you're shooting a product in particular. So you don't, if the product is on the table, you don't want to stand above and just shoot down from your eye level. You want to get down with the camera and shoot so you actually see the front of the packaging, so you can actually see what's in it, the colors, the logo, whatever. A lot of people just kind of shoot from eye level, whether that's looking up or down, and that doesn't really get you the end product that you're looking for.
Okay, so basically get a ladder or be able to like get down and really get kind of close to your subject. I'm guessing too that probably helps if your camera isn't like fantastic too in terms of improving the quality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people use cell phones, and sometimes when you're in a pinch, that's what you've got to do. But there are certainly ways you can use that and still make them come out.
Yeah.
So you can see what it is.
Okay, so directly overhead would be almost like what I think it's called a flat lay, where you like have things. I know I follow a woman who does flat lays, and she has a little Slay the Flat Lay, which I think is like really cute. But yeah, you're talking about, so if I'm over, and I get this is kind of hard to show because we're not in the same room. You're saying like be over, but like be a little bit more toward the front of the product so that you see the product packaging. Is that what you're?
Or so if you have a product that's standing on the table,
Okay.
Right? You don't want to be up here at eye level shooting down at a weird angle.
I get it. So like, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So you're shooting straight on.
Okay.
If you can't lay it down. So lay downs are great. But a lot of things have, a bottle of lotion round, it's not going to lay down very well. So if you need to stand it up.
Keeps rolling off the side. No. No, okay, I see. So you're saying like get eye level with the product. Like, yeah, don't be, and it's true. Like whenever you see like, I don't know, photography on reality shows or something, they're always like getting down and they're always like getting in these crazy positions. But really what it is that they're getting to where they're in line with the object that they're photographing.
You need the camera to be lined up with where you need to be.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And yeah. And in terms of focus, I'm wondering maybe after the broadcast, what I might do is, because sometimes I don't realize that something's out of focus. Like if I'm looking at it on my phone screen, it looks fine. And then I'll like look at the post after and be like, oh, it was out of focus. I'm wondering if there's just some third-party tool like on the internet where like I could put a photo and it would tell me if it was like blurry or not. I bet there is one.
I'm sure there is. The other thing is, don't be afraid to take 2 or 3 shots. It's you're not printing on film. It doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. Go ahead and take 2 or 3 and then choose the one that looks the best. Then you're not just stuck with that one.
It's true. And when I do take a series of photos, I never look at the first one and be like, that was the best one. Right. It almost never happens. It's always like one further in. And I don't know if it's because I'm like getting more relaxed because, if I'm taking pictures of myself, like the first one, I'm a little stiffer. I don't know if it's that I'm like trying out different lighting situations or whatever. But yeah, it's true. I never look at the first shot and think, oh yeah, that was great. Yeah. Nobody really says that. Yeah. So something that, I get a lot of questions about, product photography type stuff. So like if someone's setting up an online store or something like that, they obviously want all the pictures to be uniform. As if you have a series of products and they're all on one page, it looks chaotic when like every background is different or whatever. But I know, and as soon as you told me about this when we were planning for this broadcast, I knew exactly what you were talking about. And we'll show a few examples here, but there's kind of 2 sort of kinds of photos that you can take for your online store. One is like what you call a catalog shot, and one is a lifestyle, but I like what you call it, I want that kind of shot. So tell us a little bit more about those. And what I'll do as you're talking about them is I'll just put an example on the screen so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so you already mentioned continuity, and that's a huge thing. A website is just going to look much more professional if there's some continuity and if colors continue throughout and lighting and layout. If it looks like you took pictures of some of the things on your dining room table and then you had others in the office, and it's just a level of professionalism that needs to carry through. So for a catalog shot, we describe that as something that uses a standardized layout. It's got a single color backdrop, either black or white. Here's a picture of a coffee mug that we actually sell in our studio. And so what we do is actually so we've got a picture of the coffee mug, we've got that backdrop, we've got that lighting, and we get that picture. And then we lift it out and we put in a picture frame. And then we take a picture and we lift it out and we put in a different item. So the beauty of using that catalog setup is that you can shoot a whole bunch of pictures in a very short time frame, which makes it very economical. So if you offer a lot of the same type of things, if you're selling lotions and soaps and smaller things that are going to be shot from essentially the same angle with the same lighting, it's a really inexpensive way to get some great shots of your products. The second type is a lifestyle shot, or what we call is I want one of those. And in this case, you can see it's still the same coffee mug, but we've got the bag of coffee beans and it's on a rustic table. And it's more of a marketing piece instead of just a flat out purchase. So it makes you think of how you would use the product in that situation. These are great for, there's another one. So it's a plain white background, but the bag is what we're selling. So now you actually see the bag in use. So you get a better idea of what the purpose is and how big it is. It gives you some scale. So those kind of shots are great for if you have some things that are non-standard. So if you do a lot of lotions, but you also do a makeup case or something that's a little more special, a little more expensive, these shots are going to be a little more expensive to set up. So you may not want to do each of your catalog items that way, but you can also do a group of them. So you could do a whole stylized group shot of all of your products, stylized that way in some setting and pretty backdrop, and then still do the catalog shots for the individual. So there's lots of ways you can kind of pair and combine the two sets to really maximize the look.
And it's true. Like when I look at a website, I do often see a combination of those two kinds of shots. Like maybe if it's like a watch company or something, on the top is like a banner and it's like somebody like, adjusting, and like you see, the nice French cuff and you see the watch or whatever. And then, and then for the actual products, the first shot might be a standardized shots, with a plain backdrop so that you can actually focus on the details of the product.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. No. And yeah. And so, and it sounds like too, that your company in particular, I haven't really seen another company, at least in our corner Maine, that does this. So, so you can bring so a business could bring like one of each of their items to your studio, and you could basically set everything up and just do it and be really efficient, and efficient meaning like also that is less expensive,
right?
Typically. So that's a possibility. And, if you find a photographer who's willing to do that, again, we'll talk a little bit later about ways that, you evaluate the effectiveness of that. But it's good to know as you're considering getting photography done for your business, like which one of these you want and, why, so that when you talk to the photographer, you can tell them what you want, because it's a lot easier for a professional to give you a good product if you tell them what you want.
Yeah, you've got to set the expectation.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And since not everybody watching this might have a online store, they might have a more like service oriented company like mine, and most businesses, and in particular, it's funny, I get asked a lot, with Squarespace and everything, are you scared for your business? And I'm like, well, not really. I mean, the just kind of work I do has changed. I love that there's these nice, affordable website builders out there for people who want to do it themselves. But what I usually tell people is that if you're going to go cheaper on your website, don't cheap out on your photography. Like, get photography done, because if you use a template and you have nice photography, that's going to get you, I think, further than having a super fancy website and getting a bunch of stock images of, for contact support, it's this very pleasant looking lady with like a mic, that does not work at your company. To me, I would prefer that someone went in that first direction of saying, you know what, like I feel comfortable writing my content and stuff. Again, do I think after 13 years, I probably do it better? I sure hope so. But point being, like, I think photography is something that people can invest in. But I think that a lot of people just don't know what they really need, honestly, until they start kind of working with their website. But probably there are several kinds of shots or things that you would recommend, if you're consulting with businesses. There's probably like things that come up consistently that you would recommend for most businesses to get. And so I thought that would be a good kind of perspective to get today. So if somebody was setting up their own photo shoot, they could use these as a jumping off point to think of other ideas they could have for their website.
Yeah, for sure. So, a website is visual. That's what it's all about. So if you're going to invest in a website of any kind, whether you do it yourself or have somebody else do it, you want those pictures to really express who you are as a person and who your company is and what you do. So you want your clients or your potential clients to be able to connect with you as a person and a business, not just as a website in this mystical place. So show your people. I can't stress that enough. People want to know who they're dealing with on a personal level. So good headshots are great. Environmental portraits are even better. So when I first heard that phrase a few years ago, I went there. I thought that's an oddly specific kind of picture where you have a Greenpeace volunteer saving a seal or something. I had no idea what it meant. But it's not about that kind of environment.
Okay.
It's about your work environment.
Okay.
So it's all about capturing pictures of you and your staff doing what you do best. So if you are a restaurant, you run a restaurant and you have a chef, we actually come into the kitchen, and your chef's not going to like this for very long, but he'll get over it. We actually stand in the kitchen and take pictures of him chopping and sauteing and passing out orders, and they're action shots to show people what you're physically doing in your business. If you're in a construction company, we can come out to the building site and get pictures of your guys up on the bulldozer or on the backhoe, or your engineer looking through blueprints with the client. It actually shows that you know what you're doing. You just don't talk about what you're doing, but you do it. So it's a great way to capture people, not just sitting behind a desk or like me, this little headshot. It also makes it easier for the subject in the picture, because they're just working and we're shooting pictures. So they're much less stiff. They're much more natural. It's just a better picture all around.
And what are you calling those again? Environmental headshots?
Environmental portraits.
Okay, environmental portraits. Okay. Yep. So if you see that word, now we all know what that means.
Yeah,
so.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I had no idea where that was going. So.
And then the other thing I would say for required shots, if you're doing products, I've already kind of addressed the getting in front of it, making sure you actually show the label and what's in it. Take multiple pictures. If it's a package and you want to show the front of it and the logo, that's great. But maybe people need to know how big the bottle of lotion is. So you need to be able to show scale. It's okay to have a measuring tape or a ruler next to it so they can see how much space it's going to take up on the shelf. If you have an ingredient list, flip it around, get a close-up, and take a picture of that ingredient list so people can actually read it. Can't stress that one enough. Multiple angles is crucial.
Yeah, and it's the kind of questions that people do ask. And as we know, if you've run a website for any length of time, people don't read. Now, when I write a blog or something, I usually, I sprinkle like little like fun things in so that if someone does read, they're like sort of rewarded, but I assume no one reads anything. So you might list the ingredients in the product description, but like they might not see that, or so it's nice to include that in with the shots of the product, because people will be able to see. And like, there's tons of like food allergies and, different dietary observations that people have for, religious reasons and things like that. So like, an ingredient list, it's something you're going to get asked. So why not preempt the question by just taking that picture? And yes, include it with the text, with the product description, but sometimes people just don't get there.
In general, people are much more willing to flip through multiple pictures as opposed to through scrolling down and reading. So if it's important information, you're going to get it out there faster in a photo.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really, really good point. So yeah. As we were talking too, you had mentioned, and this is something I try to do too, is having a picture of like the outside of your business on like a contact or a directions page. And the only reason I do that is because, and this is how I feel like, and I tell this story occasionally, but if you've ever been to College of the Atlantic, there's like, and I haven't been on the campus in a while, obviously due to COVID and stuff like that, but I was trying to go to one of my friends who was giving a lecture in one of the lecture halls, and I couldn't find it because there was no signage anywhere. So now whenever I have to go there, I have this anxiety of like, if I'm going to be able to find the building. So like, if you just take a picture of the front of the building, and I know like if I'm getting directions there, I see it, I recognize it. So I like to give people that feeling that when they've arrived at my office, yes, okay, this is the right building, because that makes them feel more confident about the interaction that we're about to have. Like it's, you know, and I've had people too who like meet with me and they say, oh, you're just like you are, you know, on your website, or you're just like you are in your YouTube video or whatever. And it's because they trust you. If what you're showing is congruent to what they experience, like that gives people a lot of trust.
Exactly. It's a way of building trust. So if I'm driving around, I can't find your office. Now for our first meeting, I'm flustered already because I couldn't find where I should park and I didn't know which door to go into. And if you take those pictures and set it up so they know where they're going, then you're eliminating some of that factor right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. So the, you know, the environmental portraits, you know, so you've got the environmental portraits, maybe you've got headshots of your, you know, primary staff or your board of directors or something on the page. So that when they're out and about, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, they're with the Mount Desert Island Historical Society or whatever, you know, like, and then you have pictures of your outside of your buildings and things like that. So if people are trying to, if you have a physical business and someone else trying to get there, you know, they can confirm that they're in the right place. Is there any other types of pictures you would recommend that most businesses take, or that you've even seen a business do that you thought, oh, that was a really good idea?
Yeah, no, I think we've covered most of them.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Just as a non-photo thing though, just a tip for everybody who's got a website out there. If you have a physical location that you want customers to get to, put your address on the website. I can't tell you how many websites we go to and try to find out where they are, and it doesn't even list the city, let alone a street address. So, I mean, you know.
I mean, I'm a little vague about my location because I operate in 2 states, so yeah, I'm guilty as charged right here. But if you go to the directions page for my co-working spaces, I will tell you exactly where they are. But
a lot of places don't even have that. So
yeah. Well, like I said, as somebody who gets anxious going to new places, like I like knowing that I'm in the right place, especially if it's if it's a new place I've never been to. So I just like to, I don't know, be empathetic and sort of, yeah, give people that information. And I think, like I said, I feel like people might not read stuff, but they're going to look at the pictures on my website and they might read, if something's in bold or bulleted or something, they might read that. Yep. But if people read further than that, I reward them with puns and things like that through the narrative of what I'm writing. But I don't assume anyone reads anything. So photographs can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and they can set the expectation too. Like, oh, I thought your bed and breakfast was on the water. You know, and because I see the same people using the same, you know, the stock images of Bar Harbor, and so people think they're staying near this lighthouse or something, and they're not.
Well, that brings up a good point. One of the points I always make is that, you know, a picture can tell 1,000 words. You need to make sure they're the right words. You don't want to be misleading, but you do want to get the message across. So you have to kind of walk that fine line and make sure they really say what you want them to say.
Yeah, because, you know, yeah, if someone doesn't book because they don't think you're near the water and you're like, oh, I lost business, the actual problem is like, you wouldn't have wanted that because they would have showed up and they would have been really disappointed.
Yeah,
So like,
exactly.
yeah, so it's really important to just, like I said, and when I go to and that's why on my website, like I have pictures of me on the computer and stuff, because it's like, okay, I could get the same Pexels picture of the hipster looking girl that I see on every internet marketing website. I could show you like 5 in a row. They all use the same girl. She's got the glasses, she looks like she's in her 20s. Like, it's on every internet marketing website. And what I want people to sort of know that, like, okay, they've sort of at least met the person who might, who's going to
You're a
orchestrate
real
the work,
person. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now speaking to that, so let's say that I'm thinking about, I'm a restaurant and I know my head chef is not going to want me in there with my iPhone, like, if I've committed to this idea that, okay, maybe I want a photo shoot on my business, or maybe I finally need to get these product photos done because I'm certainly not getting them done myself. What are your, if, obviously if people are in, coastal Maine, they can come to you or you can go to them. But like, if someone is somewhere else, or, if they're hiring a photographer, there's probably, as somebody who co-owns a photography business, what are some things you would tell a layperson like me in evaluating someone's skills related to their photography work?
So the first thing is, like anything else, a referral is going to get you pretty far. If somebody has used a photographer and they're happy with them, that's a great place to start. The second way to look into that would be just skate around the website and find websites that you like, that have photographs that look like you want them to, and find out who they used. People are not terribly proprietary about who they use as a photographer. So if you find a website you're in love with, contact that person and find out who they use. That's a great place to start. Once you do find photographers that you want to consider, obviously the next step is go to their galleries. If they don't have a website, they're probably not the photographer you want to use. If your cousin got a DSLR for Christmas and wants to take pictures for you, probably not the best choice if you're really looking for professional, high-end quality photographs. So find those professional photographers in your area, look at their galleries, and you want to look at the pictures, but you mostly want to look at the style. Are they doing all black and whites? Are they, can you tell if they're using good lighting? Some of them have a very specific style. They can use high key, which means it's a white background and it's super brightly lit. And those are good for some things, but for other settings and other products, you want to use more of a low key that's going to be more warm and more dramatic. So look through them and pick the style that really fits your product or your mission, whatever it is you're trying to, your service or your product. And then the most important part, anybody who's got a professional photography gallery has some level of professionalism and they're going to do a good job for you. But you have to be able to work with them. So talk with them. Don't just book them online. Don't go just based on the pictures that you see. Pick up the phone and call them and make sure you're comfortable with them, because especially products are one thing, but if they're going to be shooting people, you want to make sure you're going to be comfortable around that photographer, that they're going to be able to make you laugh, that you're going to be relaxed, and that you're going to enjoy the experience. It's not going to feel like a torture session.
Yeah. And I will say too, like, also a good photographer, I'm guessing, would, he might have some ideas. So for example, when I had headshots done, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe, just a super light session, I went on Pinterest and I just looked at like these different like poses, right? And I'm sure this is what hairdressers must feel like. I found these awesome poses, but I'm a plus size woman, and there are certain things that look really cool when you're like tiny, that like, and I saw these really cool poses, and the photographer I worked with, to her credit, she was like, well, like, what if we try it this way? You know what I mean? Like, so she was good about like sort of taking the inspiration I had and sort of coaching me, because, you know, and I think of poor hairdressers when people are like, I want to look like this. And it's like, there is nothing I can do to your hair that will ever make it look like that. So I'm guessing a good photographer will sort of lovingly direct you too.
Yeah, absolutely. They should be able to guide you through the process.
Yeah. Like, you know, they have ideas or something, but you know, that they'll be able to take your ideas and, you know, and use their expertise to maybe make them, you know, come out a little bit better.
I was just going to say that then they'll probably turn out better than you even hoped.
Yeah. And, you know, and a big part of it is, you know, thinking through, because the thing is, you know, and like anything, you know your business. And if you're hiring like a marketing person or a photographer or whatever, you need to know what you want to get, you know, you need to, you know, think through, you know, so do people come with you and like say, like, here's a sort of shot list and things I was thinking about getting photographed. And then you're there and you might say, oh, actually, this other thing is really cool too. Let me go, you know, something that I might not notice as somebody who's in the business all the time, like, but as an outside person, you might notice is really cool. So maybe you're working from my list, but you're also like noticing other things that I could be bringing in as well.
Yeah, certainly that happens sometimes. It's much more likely that we get somebody that says, I have no idea what to do with this. Just make it. That's a much more common, and that's fine. That's what we're here for. That's why you come to an expert.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not something you necessarily need to be able to do what you need to do.
If you have a vision, I would love it if somebody came to me and said, I want to do this marketing piece. I want it to have this feel. I'll be using these colors. If you have that, we can absolutely work with that. But if you have nothing, we can work with that too.
I know what you mean. I've certainly, yeah, I've been in positions where I've had to work that way too. And, you know, as an expert with lots of experience, you have ideas to draw from, even if the other person isn't bringing them to you. So yeah, is there anything else, Jennifer, that we should talk about? I'm not seeing any questions coming in right now, but if someone does have a question and leaves a comment on the video after the fact, I should get notification of it. So,
Okay.
So yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to say as sort of like parting wisdom or things that you think people should know about business photography?
Yeah. So just one thing, you have our new website up there is Down East Photography. It's actually still under construction. So you can also go to harborviewstudio.com and look at our commercial portfolio there. But either one of them will work. We just don't have a lot of pictures on the Down East website yet. So just want to kind of reiterate what I said before, that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but you have to make sure that they're the right words for your business. And we will help you look as professional as you are.
Yeah, because you guys want to get a good referral. They want good pictures. So win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thanks, Jennifer, for your time today. And if anybody wants to get a hold of Jennifer, I've got Harbor View Studio on the screen, also Down East Photography. And you guys are prepping to open to the, well, not the public, because obviously like we're all operating sort of oddly during this time. Yeah. But you know, you'll be accepting appointments probably sometime starting
in the next week, probably.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. That's,
we're just
you guys are faster. You guys are faster and better painters than I am.
No, we hired somebody, remember?
Oh, yes. Hey.
We got burned
and which
out,
brings us to like, sometimes you need to just hire someone.
Sometimes you need the professional. We just found that it was taking too much of our time away from our business. Mm-hmm. And, you know, photography can be the same way. If you get overwhelmed with all the products you need to put on your website, hire a professional and you can get on with your business.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks everyone for watching. If you have any topics you want me to cover, if you're an expert in something sort of related to marketing that you want to come on and be a guest here, I'm totally open to that. You can just leave a comment on this video, or you can contact me through the Breaking Even website. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Take care.